This is Daf Yomi Tractate Horayot, the final page of Horayot. We spent just about the last 2 weeks, last 13 days or so, 13 days in Horayot. Today is day 13. It's Horayot, page 14, because it always starts on page 2, so it's 13 pages. And it's not even a full page, it's only one side. So we were actually in the middle of a very interesting story on 13b, and I'll just summarize it real quickly, that there were different titles. There was the Nasi, there was the leader, there was the Chacham, and there was the who else was there? Let's see here. The Nasi, let's see here, the Nasi, the Chacham, and the deputy Nasi. So that was Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Rabbi Meir was the Chacham. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel was the Nasi. Rabbi Meir was the Chacham. Rabbi Natan was the deputy Nasi. And everyone would arise before each one of them. And so Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said, shouldn't there be a distinction between me and them? He thought, he was higher than them, so there should be some distinction. And so it looks like he said, what was that? They should stand for him and not for the other ones. And so when they came in, they weren't there when he instituted it. And so, since it's such a short daf, let's just start the whole story again. Rabbi Yochanan says this mission in the preceding bride was taught during the days of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. It's such an interesting story that it's maybe worth it to, not to summarize it, but to say the whole thing over. So here we are. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel was a Nasi, Rabbi Meir was the Chacham, and Rabbi Natan was the deputy Nasi. When Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel was there, everyone would arise before him. When Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan would enter, everyone would arise before them. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said, shouldn't there be a conspicuous distinction between me and them in terms of the manner in which deference is shown? He felt he should have more respect than them, more honor. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel instituted the provisions delineated in his bride that distinguish between the Nasi and his subordinates with regard to the difference shown them. Let's read the English. That day, when the Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel instituted these provisions, Rabbi Meir and Natan were not there. The following day, when they came into the study hall, they saw that the people did not stand before them as they did before, as the matter was typically done. And they said, "What is this?" The people said to them, "This is what Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel instituted." So Rabbi Meir said to Rabbi Natan, they want a little bit of a payback. He goes, I'm the Chacham, I'm the wise man, you are the deputy Nasi. What is this? This is not right. I added that part, but I'm saying, we'll see what he says. Let us devise a matter and do to him as he did to us. So, what shall we do to him? Let us say to him, reveal to us Tractate Okatzim, which he does not know. I guess he was privy to the fact that he didn't know Okatzim, and once it is clear to all that he did not learn, he will not have anything to say. They basically wanted to humiliate him in public, basically. Which my question was on that. Why couldn't they just talk to him? I don't understand. Why did they have to devise a plan to humiliate him? They could have just said, hey, "Listen, we're also on your court. They should stand for us too." That's my question. Why didn't? But anyway, that's that. Then we will say to him, "Who can express the mighty acts of the Lord? Shall make all his praises heard." Psalms 106 verse 2, indicating for whom it is becoming to express the mighty acts of the Lord. It is becoming for one who is capable of making all his praises heard, and not for one who does not know one of the tractates. We will remove him from his position as Nasi, and I will be deputy Nasi, and you will be Nasi. Okay. Shaminu Rabbi Yaakov ben Kudshai. So Rabbi Yaakov ben Kudshai, either one. They translate Korshai, but it says with a dalet here, so either way. Heard them talking and said, perhaps, heaven forbid, this matter will come to a situation of humiliation for Ban Shimon ben Gamliel. He did not wish to speak criticism or gossip about Rabbi Meir ben Natan, so what he did was he went and he sat behind the upper store where Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel lived. He explained Tractate Oksin. He studied it aloud and repeated it, and studied aloud and repeated it. So he basically made him prepare for when they asked him. So then Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said to himself, what is this that is transpiring before us? Perhaps, heaven forbid, there is something transpiring in the study hall. He already suspected something was going on. He suspected that Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan were plotting something against him. He concentrated and studied Oksin, so I guess intuitively he knew, and then he Rabbi Yaakov Korshai or Kodshai took it upon himself to teach him Oksin. Okay, the following day, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan said to him, "Okay, now it's a showdown. Let the master come and teach a lesson in Tractate Oksin." And then he began, and he started the lesson that he prepared. After he completed teaching the tractate, he said to them, "If I had not studied the tractate, you would have humiliated me." Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel commanded those present, and they expelled Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan from the study hall as punishment. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan would write difficulties on a scrap of paper and would throw them there into the study hall. Those difficulties that were resolved and resolved. As for those that were not resolved, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan wrote resolutions on a scrap of paper and threw them into the study hall. Rabbi Yossi said to the sages, "How is it that the Torah embodied in the preeminent Torah scholars is outside and we are inside?" Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said to them, "Let us admit them into the study hall, but we will penalize them in that we will not cite halacha in their names." They cited statements of Rabbi Meir in the name of Acher, meaning others, and they cited statements of Rabbi Natan in the name of Yesh Omrim, meaning some say. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan were shown a message in their dreams. "Go, appease Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel." Rabbi Natan went, Rabbi Meir did not go. He said in his heart, matters of dreams are insignificant. When Rabbi Natan went, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said to him, "Although the ornate belt, being the importance of your father, was effective in enabling you to become deputy Nasi, Rabbi Natan's father was the Babylonian exile. Will it render you Nasi as well?" Well, years later, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi taught Rabban Shimon, his son, that Acherim say, meaning Rabbi Meir, if it was considered a substitute. And now we are on the final Amud of Horayot. It's Yudalid, an Aleph top. Lo haya k'rareh, Amar lo, mihem halalu shemei mehem anu shotim, ushmotam ein anu mazkirim. Amar le b'nei adam shebishu lakor k'vodcha u'chod bet avicha. It would not be sacrificed. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's son said to him, "Who are these sages whose water we drink, but whose names we do not mention?" Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said to him, "They are the people who sought to abolish your honor and the honor of your father's house." Amar le, he said to him, "Gam ahavtem, gam sinatam, gam kinatam kevod avada, kevar avada. Amar le ha'oyev tamu charavot l'netzach. Amar le hani minihechet avu masay, di ahanu masay. Rabbanan lo ahanu masayu, hadara sele, amen b'shum Rabbi Meir. Ilu haya temua lo haya karev, amar rove, afilu Rabbi, di'in v'tana, hu tana, amru b'shum Rabbi Meir, amar Rabbi Meir lo amar. His son said to him, citing the verse, "Their love as well as their hatred, and their envy is long ago perished." Ecclesiastes 9:6. That was long ago, and they have already died. Therefore, it is no harm mentioning their names. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said to him, "But it is also stated, the enemy are come to an end. The wasted places are forever." Psalms 9:7. Although the enemies died, the desolation that they created remains. Therefore, although they are dead, their names should not be mentioned. Rabban Shimon said to his father, it's funny because we, who are reading this, we know that it's Rabbi Meir, so obviously their names weren't abolished because we know the story. So we're reading about Rabbi Meir, so obviously heaven didn't hold a grudge against them because we're mentioning their names. Anyway, okay. Although the enemies died, the desolation still remains. And yet we know, you and I, who are learning this, know Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Natan. Okay. Therefore, although they are dead, their names should not be mentioned. Rabbi Shimon said to his father, these matters apply in a case where their actions were effective. In the case of these sages, their actions were not effective. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi then taught him, the sages said in the name of Rabbi Meir, if it was considered a substitute, it would not be sacrificed. Rava said, even Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who was humble, taught, the sages said in the name of Rabbi Meir, but he did not say directly Rabbi Meir said. Okay, but we still know that Rabbi Meir said. Okay, anyway. Rabbi Yochanan, Pliguba, Rabbi Shimon, Ben Gamliel, Rabbanan, Chadamar Sinai Adif, Chadamar Oker Harim Adif. Rabbi Yochanan said, Rabbi Shimon Ben Gamliel, I guess apropos to Rabbi Shimon Ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon Ben Gamliel and the rabbis disagree with regard to this matter. One said Sinai is one who is extremely knowledgeable. Sinai is a very, very broad knowledge of many, many subjects, like Bekiyut, Bekiyas as they call it, is preferable. And one said Oker Harim, one who uproots mountains, meaning it's a little bit more narrow, more focused, but extremely incisive or analytical or much more in depth, which is a higher level. Rabbi Yosef, Sinai, Rabba Oker Harim. The Gemara relates that this is not merely a theoretical dispute, rather, at one point it had practical ramifications. Rabbi Yosef was Sinai, and Rabba was one who uproots mountains. Shalchu letaman, eze mehem kodem, shalchu lehu, Sinai adif. Tiamama, kot tzirich lemarech hatia, afilu ha'chinuka ben Rabbi Yosef aleh, malach Rabba 20 ותשנין. והדר מלאך רב יוסף בכל שני דמלאך רבם רב יוסף אפילו ומנה על ביתה לא חליף. They sent a message from Babylon to Eretz Israel, which takes precedence, and they sent a response that actually Sinai is preferable. It's better to know many, many subjects and have a well-rounded knowledge, but not so in depth, than super in depth, but just a few topics. Sinai is perfect, as the master said, everyone requires the owner of the wheat, meaning one who is expert in the sources. Even so, I guess wheat is like the bread. Everyone requires the owner of the wheat. I don't know how that connects with Sinai, but that's what they call it. Okay. Even so, Rabbi Yosef did not accept upon himself the appointment of head of the yeshiva. Rabbah reigned for 22 years. I got to bring in the PL89. Today, on the PL89 calendar, it's box 22. Again, September 15th, the 15th day of any month, or LL15, but today is L22nd. It's LL22. It's LL22 today, and it's next to 14, which is Horayot 14. Okay? And it's 22. On two levels, 22. It came up in the Teku. It came up in the here. This is getting more and more interesting. Okay, 22 years that Rabbah reigned for 22 years, and today, September 15th, is 22. Okay, and it's L22. Rabbah reigned for 22 years, and then Rabbi Yosef reigned. The Gemara relates that in all those years that Rabbah resided, Rabbi Yosef did not even call a blood letter to his home. Rabbi Yosef did not assume even the slightest air of authority in deference to Rabbah, and would go to seek out the blood letter rather than expecting the blood letter would accommodate him. Abaya. Rabbi כל יום המין זה לא מפריך, להבדשן, דכולו הוא אפריך, דהבעיה לא אפריך, חזיר הבא לבעיה דגבר אישה, המלא נחמני פתח ואימה. The Gemara relates, Abaye, Rabban and Zera, that Rabban Masana were sitting and studying in a group, and were in need of a head for their group. They said, let anyone who will say a matter that is not refuted be the head. Everyone's statements were refuted. And the statement of Abaye was not refuted. Rabbah saw that Abaye raised his head, meaning he noticed that his statement was not refuted. Rabbah said to him, Nachmani, calling Abaye by his name rather than by his nickname, begin and say your lecture. Ibayelahu, a dilemma was raised before the sages. Rabbi Zero, Rabba bar Rav Masna, Haimenayu Adif, Rabbi Zero Charif, Umakshan, Rabba bar Rav Matna, Matunu Masik Mai, Teku. Wow. Very interesting that Horayot ends in a Teku, and there's been a lot of interesting connections between, because I'll just make a plug for my other videos. I'm doing videos on Tekus themselves. On all the Tekus in Shas, you might see them on the other videos. If you're looking at Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shir, right next to it you'll see Teku number whatever. I'm following a book by Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pessin. He catalogs all the tekus in the Talmud. You know, I'm going to put this on pause for a moment and find out what number teku this is, because it's worth it. Okay, back. I just took a peek in the book of Rabbi Pessin. It's called Teku, and in fact, well, according to this book, this teku, which is the final word of Horayot, is the 212th teku in the Babylonian Talmud. And why is that significant? I'm not sure. I mean, the gematria of 212 is Rebbe, like rabbi, and I'm not sure. 212? Okay. Anyway, this is the 212th teku, and here it is. I'll say it over again. A dilemma was raised before the sages between Rabbi Zera and Rabbah bar of Masna. Which of them is preferable? Rabbi Zera is incisive and raises pertinent difficulties. That would be like Oker Harim. He smashes mountains. And Rabbah bar of Matana is moderate. He's not so incisive, but he ultimately draws appropriate conclusions. I guess he had a broader knowledge, and he was able to do something similar. What is the conclusion? Which is preferable? And the Gemara concludes this is a teku. Now, if you watch my teku videos, what the takeaway will be, pun intended. The takeaway will be is that sometimes there's a teku on the teku itself. My own personal teku is that sometimes I really like, expressions scratch my head, wonder why some tekus are tekus. If we just said earlier that they asked which one, when it came to Rav Yosef and Rabbah, and they asked Israel, and Israel sent back, they sent that Sinai is preferable. If they got the answer back from the authorities in Eretz Yisrael that Sinai is better, okay, Rav Yosef didn't accept the honor. He put Rabbah instead, but they still answered that officially Sinai is better. So why is this a teku? Why is this a teku if we already heard the answer of which one's better? But again, let's say this is the 212th teku. Is that Rav Zera, who was a Oker Harim, and Rav Matana was a Sinai, and they didn't know which one to do. So they say Teku. So this is the 212 Teku in Babylonian Talmud, and it is the completion of Tractate Horayot, Hadron Alach, Kohen Mashiach, Uslikala, Mesechet Horayot, Mazal Tov, 12 the Messiahim, and let us go further, Michael L'chail, to completing more Mesechtas of Shas. And I'm very excited about starting Kachim. I never really learned many of those Mesechtas, only little bits here and there. And so a little bit of Menachos maybe, but really not really, maybe a little. No, that's about it, just about Menachos, that's it. And what else? So anyway, that's that.